Donald Trump promised to deport 1 million people in a year, and the machinery is already in motion. Since January 2025, Immigration and Customs Enforcement has conducted unprecedented raids across the United States, detaining tens of thousands of people. But what actually happens after someone is arrested by ICE? The answer reveals a system that's rapidly expanding beyond anything we've seen before, and it's raising serious questions about due process, family separation, and the true cost of mass deportation. To understand the scale of what's happening, we need to look at the numbers. As of late June 2025, there are approximately 59,000 immigrants currently held in ICE custody. That's over 140% of the agency's detention capacity. This represents a massive surge from previous years, with ICE detaining an average of about 20,000 immigrants each month from February through May, a more than threefold increase from 2024. But here's what might surprise you. Despite Trump's repeated promises to target the worst of the worst, the data tells a very different story. According to government statistics, 72% of people currently detained by ICE have no criminal convictions. That's 41,495 people out of 57,161 total detainees. Of those who do have convictions, only 6.9% had committed violent crimes, while the majority, 53%, had committed nonviolent offenses like immigration violations, traffic infractions, or vice crimes. So what exactly happens when ICE arrests someone? The process has been dramatically transformed under Trump's second administration. Previously, ICE operations typically focused on individuals with serious criminal records and followed established protocols. Now, the administration has implemented what officials call community arrests, raids that sweep through workplaces, neighborhoods, and even schools and hospitals. Areas that were previously considered sensitive locations where enforcement was limited, the arrest process itself has become more aggressive and systematic. ICE agents, sometimes working without identifying clothing and wearing face coverings, have been conducting targeted raids based on daily quotas.
According to the National Day Labor Organizing Network, also known as NDLON, at least 20 people were detained outside in this parking lot in front of the Home Depot this morning. We do have video we want to show you. This was shared by a witness who was here and saw this all unfold. You can see what appears to be a person detained being walked through the lot by a federal agent. Then a car pulls up, and that person is placed inside. This happened around 9:30 this morning. You can see in the cell phone video federal agents that appear to be armed standing next to their truck as people are gathering video. And there's also what appears to be protesters standing outside on the other side of this fence. As these immigration operations continue, especially at local Home Depots.
At a North Hollywood Home Depot, witnesses described federal agents detaining approximately 20 people, including day laborers, in a morning operation that sent shockwaves through the community. Stephen Miller, Trump's deputy chief of staff and the architect of his immigration policy, has demanded that ICE arrest up to 3,000 people per day, a more than four-fold increase from previous daily averages. When these quotas aren't met, senior ICE officials face threats of termination. The fear these raids create extends far beyond those arrested. As protesters have pointed out, people are being taken without due process. Anyone with a mask could take someone away without their family knowing their whereabouts.
We deserve due process. Our rights are being violated, and we need to stop it with this. Our people are getting kidnapped. Anybody with a mask can come right now as we're doing this interview and take you. Your family won't know where you're at. That should be concerning. Whether you're an immigrant or not an immigrant, our rights at risk. That is why I'm here today.
Some carrying upside-down American flags.
This climate of uncertainty has left entire communities living in terror, unsure when federal agents might appear at their doors, workplaces, or children's schools. Once arrested, detainees enter a detention system that's operating far beyond its intended capacity. ICE operates over 200 facilities across the country, many through private contracts, but the surge in arrests has pushed the system to its breaking point. The agency has been forced to expand detention through military bases, including Fort Bliss in Texas, which is being transformed into what Senator John Cornyn dubbed the Lone Star Lockup, set to become the largest migrant detention facility in the country. This new facility at Fort Bliss will house up to 1,000 single adult men and women with pending deportation orders. Senator Cornyn emphasized that these aren't gardeners, housekeepers, or people like that, but rather individuals who have exhausted all legal remedies.
Housekeepers or people like that, we're talking about as many as 291,000 individuals who are called criminal aliens, who are people either with criminal charges pending or criminal convictions, and who have exhausted all of their legal remedies. In other words, there's no due process issue involved here. These are people who basically didn't show up.
Yet this characterization contradicts the broader data showing that the vast majority of IC detainees have no criminal convictions whatsoever. The conditions in these facilities vary widely, but overcrowding has become a persistent problem. Each detainee is assigned a threat level by ICE on a scale of 1 to 3, with 1 being the highest threat. However, 84% of people detained at facilities nationwide are classified as having no ICE threat level, meaning they have no criminal record that would justify their detention from a public safety perspective. One of the most concerning aspects of the current system is the strategic use of transfers. First, the Trump administration has implemented a policy of moving detainees far from their families and legal representation. This isn't accidental. It's a deliberate strategy designed to make it harder for immigrants to fight their cases in court. When someone is detained in New York but transferred to a facility in Louisiana or Arizona, their family members can't visit and their lawyers can't easily represent them. The human cost of these policies became starkly clear in the case of Brian Gavidia, a 29-year-old U.S. citizen from Montebello who was detained by federal agents despite his citizenship. "I truly believe I was a target because of my race," Gavidia said, describing how agents pushed him against a wall and demanded proof of citizenship. "I believe I was racially profiled, I believe. I was attacked because I was walking while brown."
We the People has been on 29-year-old Brian Gavidia's back for 6 years, but it wasn't until this moment that he says made him really understand what it meant.
Every time I see it on video, it just it's like a bad memory in my brain, 100%.
Agents were conducting an operation outside his shop on June 12th.
I just went to go look. Honestly, did not know it was a crime to go look.
The video shows one agent pushing Brian up against the wall and demanding he prove his citizenship.
I truly believe I was a target because of my race. I believe I was racially profiled. I believe I was attacked because I was walking while brown.
He says agents held him, took his phone and real ID that proved he was a citizen.
Gavidia's story is particularly striking because he had voted for Trump, believing the president's promises about immigration. Now he expresses deep regret. He ran on lies. He lied to many of us. When you say other countries are releasing their jails and letting them into the population, of course you're going to scare the people. We were manipulated. We were all brainwashed. And now look at us. We're all suffering because of it. This separation strategy extends beyond just geography. ICE has been conducting raids in what they call sanctuary cities, jurisdictions that limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement.
We will not ask for your immigration status. We, quite frankly, don't care about your immigration status.
This comes as immigration activists claim the Phoenix Police Department is working with the Department of Homeland Security and assisting ICE agents as they conduct immigration enforcement.
Phoenix PD should be concentrating on actually policing.
In cities like Los Angeles, hundreds of demonstrators have filled parks and streets, demanding an end to what they see as cruel and excessive enforcement tactics. The protests have maintained a celebratory
The people united!
After recent ICE operations in the area. Step by step, the demonstrators say they're taking a stand against immigration enforcement.
The message is clear, right? We stand for solidarity, and again, like I said, we're not standing for tyranny, and so the best thing that we can do is come out and show support.
When we fight! The scene today, quite a contrast from a month ago when a large presence of federal agents, some on horseback, swept through the park. Mayor Karen Bass confronting them and calling the move a fear tactic. Then last week, an ICE raid called Operation Trojan Horse. Federal agents showing up to a Home Depot near MacArthur Park in a Penske truck, arresting 16 undocumented people.
Today, the community is taking back the park peacefully, but also sending a very strong message that Angelenos will not stand for this type of racist immigration enforcement activities.
Tone while delivering serious political demands about immigration enforcement. The data shows a stark divide in how ICE operates in different states. In blue states like Massachusetts, 94% of immigrants arrested by ICE were apprehended in community raids, while in red states, arrests more commonly occur in jails or prisons where local law enforcement co-operates with federal agents. This has created tension even within law enforcement, with some police chiefs making their positions clear. As Phoenix's new police chief Matt Giordano stated, his department will not ask for immigration status. Quite frankly, we don't care about your immigration status. The legal process, once someone is in detention, has also been fundamentally altered. Previously, individuals had more time to secure legal representation and prepare their cases. Now, the emphasis is on speed rather than due process. The administration has streamlined deportation proceedings, often scheduling hearings with little notice and in locations far from where detainees were originally arrested. For those who do manage to secure legal representation, the challenges are immense. Immigration courts are already backlogged with millions of cases, and the surge in arrests has made the situation worse. Many detainees are forced to represent themselves in complex legal proceedings, often in a language they don't fully understand. The success rate for individuals without legal representation is dramatically lower than for those who have lawyers. The expansion of the detention system has also involved unprecedented coordination between federal agencies. The operation includes 3,000 ICE agents, 2,000 Justice Department employees from the FBI, U.S. Marshals Service and DEA, plus 500 Customs and Border Protection employees. Even 250 IRS agents have been drafted into the effort, some providing information on immigrants' whereabouts using tax data, others given arrest authority. The military component is particularly significant. The Department of Homeland Security has requested the use of 21,000 National Guard members to support ICE operations. In Los Angeles, where raids sparked massive protests, Trump deployed thousands of California National Guard troops and 700 active-duty Marines over the objections of local and state officials. This represents an unprecedented militarization of immigration enforcement. The human cost of this system extends far beyond the individuals detained. Families are being separated, often with no clear timeline for reunion. Children are left without parents, spouses are separated, and communities are living in fear. The administration has created what advocates describe as a climate of fear that discourages immigrants from attending school, seeking medical care, or cooperating with law enforcement on other matters. The economic impact is equally significant. Industries that rely heavily on immigrant labor, agriculture, construction, hospitality, and manufacturing are reporting severe worker shortages. The fear of raids has led to massive drops in field workers showing up for work. As one California farming leader put it, "If you took away my workforce, you wouldn't eat." The financial cost of this operation is staggering. Each deportation flight costs over $850,000 with about 80 people per flight. The American Immigration Council estimated that conducting 1 million deportations would cost $967.9 billion in federal government spending. ICE is already short $230 million to fund its current level of operations, and the Trump administration will likely need additional funding from Congress to sustain this pace. Perhaps most troubling is how the system has evolved to prioritize political messaging over effective law enforcement. The administration has been accused of inflating the appearance of deportation activity through social media manipulation, posting videos of shackled deportees, and allowing celebrities to accompany raids for publicity purposes. In one particularly controversial move, the White House posted a video showing immigrants in shackles being prepared for deportation, captioned ASMR, Illegal Alien Deportation Flight. The response from communities has been swift and organized. School districts across California, New York, Georgia, and Illinois have issued directives prohibiting ICE agents from entering school grounds without valid court warrants. Some districts have implemented security perimeters around graduation sites to protect students and families. Community organizers have announced economic boycotts of major companies like Home Depot, Walmart, and Target, while promoting investment in local street vendors and community businesses. Public opinion on these tactics is complex. While a majority of Americans, 80%, support deporting immigrants convicted of violent crimes, a majority also say that ICE actions have gone too far. The polling suggests that Americans support targeted enforcement against criminals, but are uncomfortable with the broad sweeps that are separating families and disrupting communities. The long-term implications of this system extend far beyond immigration policy. The erosion of due process protections, the militarization of domestic law enforcement, and the strategic separation of families represent fundamental changes to how the federal government exercises power. These precedents could influence law enforcement approaches for generations to come. Democratic leaders have struggled to mount an effective response to these tactics. Some have filed lawsuits challenging the deployment of military forces and the violation of sanctuary city policies. Others have focused on providing legal aid and support services to affected communities. However, the scale and speed of the Trump administration's actions have often outpaced the ability of opposition forces to respond effectively. The international community has also taken notice. Several foreign governments have pushed back against deportation flights, with Colombia briefly refusing to accept planes carrying its citizens before eventually backing down under economic pressure. The treatment of detainees and the conditions in detention facilities have drawn criticism from human rights organizations worldwide. Looking ahead, the sustainability of this system remains questionable. The detention infrastructure is already overwhelmed, the courts are backlogged, and the financial costs are enormous. ICE agents and other law enforcement personnel are reporting burnout from the NTAs quotas and the shift away from their traditional missions. The Homeland Security Investigations Arm, which typically focuses on transnational crimes and cyber threats, has been redirected to immigration enforcement, potentially leaving other national security priorities understaffed. The Trump administration's approach represents a fundamental shift from previous immigration enforcement strategies. Rather than focusing on individuals who pose genuine public safety threats, the system has become a massive detention and deportation machine that processes people regardless of their criminal history or ties to American communities. The emphasis on speed, quotas, and political messaging has created a system where due process is often an afterthought. For the millions of immigrants living in the United States without permanent legal status, the message is clear: anyone can be next. The expansion of detention facilities, the strategic transfers, the community raids, and the erosion of traditional protections have created an environment where immigration status alone is sufficient grounds for indefinite detention and eventual deportation. The ultimate question is whether this system will achieve its stated goals of making America safer and more secure, or whether it will simply create more fear, family separation, and community disruption while consuming enormous resources that could be used for other priorities. The answer may determine not just the fate of millions of immigrants, but the future of American democracy itself. As this unprecedented experiment in mass detention and deportation continues, one thing is certain: the human cost will be measured not just in numbers of people detained and deported, but in families destroyed, communities fractured, and fundamental American values tested. Whether the American people will ultimately support this approach or demand a more humane and targeted alternative remains to be seen. But for the 59,000 people currently in ICE custody and the millions more living in fear of raids, the consequences are immediate and devastating.